I think the banking crisis in the US, which is really, and that was fueled by the housing crisis, is still not necessarily over. I think the administration has done a lot of good things, but I think it is going to be very difficult for the US economy and then consequently the global economy to really get back on its feet until two things happen. Until one, that the housing market in the US stabilizes, and number two, that the banking crisis really has stabilized. And Bob touched on a very crucial point, which is how you value assets, which is critical to how the banking crisis evolves.
Some of this was fear-driven and caused people to retrench and react. Some of it obviously was fundamental economics. Sitting next to Vincent, I worked for Bob. I don't know if that was a good or bad thing. Is that I think in many respects the worst of the fear is over, and that people get accustomed to whatever the world is, and then they go about their lives and do whatever it is that they do. And they spent the last 6 to 9 months, certainly in this country, and I think in lots of countries around the world, afraid.
In previous times, most emerging countries were able to work their ways out of crises by exporting their way out of the crisis. Today, that's not the case. However, and I agree with Secretary Rubin, what you have today is that it will be really through local consumption that you will be able to do this, and there's a lot of course, limit to that. You know, good old hard work with innovation is going to be it.
What people don't appreciate is the extent to which a good part of the incremental economic growth, certainly in Europe and the US, was fueled by this tremendous credit bubble of the last 3-4 years. This is a crucial point. And I think now that this credit bubble has been pierced and you really have the downsizing of balance sheets and people deleveraging, you're going to have the reverse effect. And I think it's pretty certain that the economies, certainly again US and Europe, will be considerably slower growing. But I don't think it's a bad thing because a lot of that hype was taken out of the economy, and I think it's going to be back to a lot of very much more basic values and more commonsensical approach to the economy. Consumers not borrowing as much, buying things they need, and all of these kind of things. But if you multiply that through the economy, I think it means it leads to slower growth. And so I'd expect that in the US and in Europe. Now it's an open question then what impact that has on the rest of the world, which certainly in Asia and particularly China has been very dependent on the US consumer fueling their economic activity. But I think they have a big enough economy, their economy is shifting enough that I don't think it's going to have that dramatic effect in China. But anyway, net, slower growth, I think, and a more a soundly based economy. So long term, I actually think this is a good thing because we're going to build, and President Obama said it very well, build an economy on a solid foundation instead of on a pile of sand. And regrettably, I think there has been a lot of pile of sand economy the last few years.
Stay close to your customers because most of your good ideas will come from them, and all of your revenues will come from them. I think now's a great time to invest in your own business. And the reason I bring up Carlos Slim was once when asked how he made all that money, he said, I had cash when other people didn't. And if you're in a position now to do that, I think this is a great time to, you don't have to bet the farm, but take little bets, or you're investing in new product development, areas of the business that you think the ROI over time will be good, because other people aren't doing that right now. So now's a great time to invest and capture market share.